I have company coming this week, and I realized I don't have my coffee bar decorated at all. So, time to get it decorated, and I thought a beach theme would be perfect. Now, you've seen me remake this sign a million times. This is just a thrifted wood board sign that I got at Goodwill, and I have made it into probably 20 different themes on here, but it fits perfectly at the very top of my coffee bar hanging above my shelves. So, the first thing I'm going to do is dismantle it from the Valentine's Day coffee bar I had used this for. And I just used Cricut vinyl, so I'm just peeling that off, and I removed the heart that we had attached to it. And so each time I do this, I have to try to repair it a little bit. I used a lot of tacks on that heart for decorative purposes, so I had lots of holes to patch. But basically, I just keep adding to this. This has got a few layers of paint on it, but it works really well for me. And using vinyl on it seems to be the easiest method. I've done it hand painted a lot of times with letters, but it's easier just to do the Cricut vinyl. So that's what we're going to do with this sign. I do want to make it a really pretty turquoise color though, and I didn't think I'd be able to get that color over the pink. So I just went over it with one coat of white, and just to give me a base coat, just to make it easier to cover the pink and to make it a beautiful turquoise color. This is the color I'm using. I think it's just called Turquoise by Apple Barrel, and I'm going to paint this all over. I really like the white coming through, and so I will distress it with white to give it that coastal vibe. I want this to be a coffee bar sign to kind of show off my coffee bar like it is like an actual little coffee shop. I always like to do that. And sometimes I name it like coffee company, sometimes I name it cafe. Today we're going to do a mermaid theme on this one. And I am going to do all a day at the beach kind of thing, is what I was thinking for the coffee bar. I have this coffee bar in my house that I kind of put in on a little wall that I had, and I have a little armoire from Goodwill that I had thrifted and redid coastal. And then I have shelves on the wall above my coffee makers, and that is what we're going to be decorating. So I got all of this, the turquoise color. Now all we have to do is go in and distress it with white. And I want it to look very chippy and chunky. This is just like kind of the coastal farmhouse look, which I really love. And so I just went over it in one direction with white. If you get too much in an area, you can go in with a baby wipe and blend it, or you can go in with your original color. But I want to use all different colors of blue today on these DIYs for the coffee bar to really bring out all the blues that you see when you go to the beach. So I'm pretty happy with that. And what I want to do is I want to attach a mermaid to it. This I got at the Crafter Square. This is not Shore Living. This is Crafter Square Mermaid. And I want it to be a white silhouette to pop against that turquoise background. But I also wanted to have lots of detail. So let me show you what I did with this. This does have a little bump out part for the tail, and it's got like a few scales wood burned into the tail. So I just go over it with a couple of coats of white to give me a good base coat for this. And then I wanted to go in and add a lot more detail. I thought the white was really pretty, but since it's a mermaid, I thought it'd be really fun to make it shimmer. So this is like a liquid glitter that I get at Dollar General. And it's basically like a clear paint that's just filled with glitter. And I thought that would be perfect for a mermaid. Let's make her shimmer. So I just went over the white acrylic with that to really make her glitter. It's not real obnoxious. It's more of kind of a subtle glow. And so I had to add a couple of coats just to be able to see it pretty well. Then once that's dry, I go in. These are the little scales that are on her tail. And I'm going in with my fine tipped hot glue gun. This is my Surebonder. It is a little bit easier to control and releases less glue. I use those for reference because we're going to fill in the entire tail with that mermaid scale to give this tail lots of texture. Also drawing the little lines here on the fin. They had two. I added three to that part. And I really liked how that turned out. So I thought it would be really pretty to do that to her hair too. So we'll make it like she's looking away from us. And this is the back of the mermaid's head. So using the little curls for reference, I can kind of tell where her hair is supposed to be. And I'm kind of alternating curly, wavy, and straight lines here to try to make it look like different pieces of hair down her back. And I think that looks pretty good. Now, my hot glue is a little yellowish, so I do go over it with some more of the white acrylic just to make the little bump out parts, the texture that I added, white as well. And of course, I want to make it that shimmer too. So I'm going over it again with that glitter. And that's probably my favorite way to attach glitter to something. It is no mess whatsoever. And this is all of the texture we added to that little mermaid silhouette. I think it's super cute. Now we can plan on adding it here. I cut out some Cricut vinyl using my Cricut Joy Extra. I love that thing because I don't have to use a mat with it. And I do have the SVG if you want to create this. I'll have it linked in the description of today's video. And I'm going to name my little coffee bar the Coral Cafe. So I cut out cafe with a little coral, and this is the coral part. I did have to cut them separately because I wanted to use my Joy Extra, and it's a little bit skinnier. So if you need these files individually, let me know. I can try to split them. What I had to do was when I brought it into Cricut, it was all one file. It wasn't going to fit. I had to use the contour function to like copy and paste and then deselect what I didn't want. So not ideal. If I would have used my regular Cricut, I probably wouldn't have had that problem. But I'm just using my favorite transfer paper. This is a paper roll transfer paper. I get this on Amazon. I have it linked in my shop. And for the vinyl, I'm just using Cricut vinyl. I love it. It's so easy to weed with and works really well. So I just add Coral Cafe. I really only like to add words to the top two lines because a lot of times I have stuff in front of it that you can't read. And that's all I really needed. I did measure this at 4 inches. I must have cut my cafe a little bit big because I did have to kind of cut it there at the very bottom. And then I'm going to add my mermaid, but I thought I had a little bit too much space over here because she's pretty skinny compared to what I normally add to my sign. So I decided to add like a big rock or something for her to be sitting on, looking out into the ocean. So I just sketched that on there, and I'm just going over the blue that we had on there with some, I think this is called Beachcombers Beige, like just a sand color. Just something very abstract. I just want a shadow, so I'm not going to have any details or anything on that. And I think that that really added to this side of the sign and balanced it out a little bit because it felt a little bit empty. Once I got it all on there, I just distressed it with white just so it would be more cohesive with the rest of the sign. And then we can add our little mermaid to our Coral Cafe sign. Looks like she's sitting on the rock looking out into the ocean. Very cute. To attach it, I'm just going to use one of the Dollar Tree thumbtacks. These are the ones that come with the nails. They're pretty long, so I think that's what will work well. I also use hot glue, but this also covers the hole here, and I don't have to worry about that. It also helps keep it on there. So I just add the brass tack, and I painted that white to blend that in with the mermaid's hair. And then I thought, a few more details down here would be cute. So I decided to add some seashells from my stash. 3 of these I think I found at the beach. One, I'm not sure where I got the shiny one. I must have gotten that somewhere that actually polishes their shells, and I don't really have time to soak these and polish them. So I thought I would try just using some spray enamel to see if we could get that shiny finish on these so it would look like the other shell that I wanted to use there, a little bit shinier. Look how much more detail it brings out in those. I don't know if I've ever tried that before, but it worked pretty well. I think 4 shells is going to be enough. I'm just going to attach them with hot glue. I don't think these will be too hard to remove when I go to remake this little sign again. But I just glue those on the rock she's sitting on there. And this is how it turned out. This is what it looks like at the top of my coffee bar, all the way up at the very top next to my trim there. Isn't she so pretty?